NCB Radio.
The Tony P Radio Show. He's agreed to do an interview with me, so here it is. This is Bryan Dunn. Hello. Hi, Bryan. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this for me. I have the first question. It's supposed to be one of those 60-second interview things, so, we'll see how we get on, though. No pressure. Right, first question. This Will All End in Tears, the new single from the forthcoming EP, We Shall Be Monsters. The cheery titles. How positive are you at the moment about the future?
I mean, the easy answer is not terribly, but at the same time, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. The title of the EP comes from a line in Frankenstein, and the full quote is, "It is true we shall be monsters, cut off from all the world, but on that account we shall be more attached to one another." And I think there's something to be said for that everyone's looking for a moment of connection, and even when things seem their darkest, which they do at the moment, you can still find moments of positivity and joy. So maybe doom and gloom with moments of cautious optimism. I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
Now, Jeff Littman gets a lot of credit on your new EP. How did this partnership come about?
I met Jeff shortly after he moved here from Minneapolis, and we bonded over a shared love of Prince, among other things, and I started playing guitar in his band. A bit later, that situation reversed, and Jeff started playing guitar in my band. And he'd always been a great producer of his own stuff, but was looking to branch out into some other projects. He produced an album for his fiancée, Andy Ray Healy, who's also a good friend of mine, and I really enjoyed what he did with her. And so we thought it was time to work together, and we had a blast doing it.
So how are you for toilet rolls and your grocery store shelves in general? Are people panic buying in Brooklyn? And if so, what is the least desirable items being left on the shelves? Here, it's spinach pasta.
I have to say they're buying in bulk at the chain stores, but the smaller bodegas still seem to be pretty well stocked, so I think on the whole it's not so bad. I did accidentally buy gluten-free chips, and those were sort of terrible. But what's really the worst is when you buy something to treat yourself. Like I bought a muffin recently as an indulgence in a dark time, and it was super dry and tasteless. And I think there's something about the betrayal of what you think is going to be pleasurable that's much worse than anything that you're prepared for the disappointment of, if that makes sense.
Assuming that it is, why is this EP better than the last record you released?
I think it's more stylistically diverse. The last EP, I wanted to go for a more focused instrumentation. I had electric guitars, bass, drums, and keys, and we're just trying to stick in a fairly narrow range to make it cohere. This one might have more coherent themes in terms of lyrics, but we let ourselves experiment a little more, and I think it came out a more interesting record on the whole because of it.
Now, millions in the UK are facing up to 12, 13 weeks isolation. That's a lot of movies to watch. What film do you never tire of watching?
Star Wars. Any of them. And I mean any of them. I saw the first one in the theater with my dad, and it blew my mind. And since then, even the ones universally acknowledged to be bad, I still enjoy watching them. And that's a hard admission, but I do.
What band or singer did you last go see perform?
There's a venue in New York City called Rockwood Music Hall, and I love playing there and just being there so much that I named an album after it. And they recently celebrated their 15-year anniversary of being open, and one of my favorite bands from the early days of that club, a local New York band called the Undisputed Heavyweights, who had broken up over 10 years ago now, got back together and did a reunion show, and I think it really reminded me of what music can do for people as a collective experience and as a personal one when you're sort of going through a lot of other difficult times.
Now, David Bowie brought my attention to you when I was looking for decent Bowie covers to play on the Tony P Radio Show. So, what Bowie covers do you admire, and what was your first Bowie album?
My first Bowie album, which was the first time I was really aware of Bowie, was Never Let Me Down, around the time it came out. And I know it's sort of regarded as one of his worst records, but it was my first, and because of that, it's always going to have a special place in my heart. Backing up a little, I went to college in Austin, Texas, and I started playing music down there. And at one point, my old band was playing the Austin Music Network with Spoon. And I walked away from that experience thinking that Britt Daniel was kind of a bad person. And that was a long time ago, and I don't remember the specifics of why. So it's probably not fair, but I just carried a grudge for a long time. And then after David passed, he posted a solo version of Never Let Me Down, and there was something that I found really touching, not only in his selection of the song, but in his performance of it, and it wiped away any residual bad feeling I had, and now I'm very much into his music.
Now, Z Nation, or as you put it, Z Nation, or The Walking Dead?
Well, I gotta go Z Nation for a couple of reasons. The Walking Dead seems a little too nihilistic, even for my darkest days, on a lot of the episodes of the show, and Z Nation just seems to have more fun with it. Plus, whoever's the music director at Z Nation programs some people that I know and like in New York. Like my friend Ann's band Mother Feather has been featured in an episode, so if for no other reason than the music placement, Z Nation.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.
Cheers.
All right, Tony. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
NCB Radio.
The Tony P Radio Show.